What is going on, guys? It's the Crazy Mook here, and I'm going to bring you a review of the sports bars for the ER6F or Ninja 650. Now, I got these from the ninja650shop.com, which are based out in the States. And one thing I want to say real quick is, before I was looking at getting bars like this, the one concern I had was clearance. And even with these long levers, there is absolutely no trouble with clearance whatsoever, either side, as you can see there. So I'm really glad about that. And I read about people having to install shorter levers just to get around the fact that, you know, there wasn't enough clearance with the lower bars on. So first things first, why did I get them? Now, before you write comments like, oh, the ER6F is a comfortable commuter bike, and, you know, why have you put those ridiculous low bars on it that make it much more uncomfortable? Well, the answer is, really, they weren't comfortable at all. Granted, for going around town and staying below sort of 50-60 miles an hour, yeah, they were fine. But once you got up to sort of 60-70 miles an hour on dual carriageways and motorways, they're absolutely unbearable, because they're sort of up here and you're completely bolt upright. Your face just gets all the wind, and oh, you get blown around, and before long I had pain across the top of my back, and it just wasn't doing it at all. So that's why I've done it, and it's a million times better. So next question, how much did they cost? Now, I did do quite a bit of research on these bars, and I decided to go for these ones outside of the UK because they were recommended. I watched several YouTube videos and they looked easy to install, and I actually ended up watching a video on how to install it, which was really helpful, and I'll put a link in the description just in case. And, you know, they came with instructions that, you know, a 2-year-old could have understand. They came with absolutely everything, all the bolts and everything necessary to put it together. Really nice and simple. And getting back on with the cost side of things, they cost $160 US, which I worked out to be around 101 quid, which is really, you know, it's nice and reasonable, if not a little bit cheap. Now, I emailed them before I put the order through and said, how much is shipping going to cost to the UK? And they said it would be $70, which I estimated in my head to be around 35-40 quid, which, you know, 140 quid was nice and cheap. Now, there are a couple of import fees that you do have to face, obviously, with them coming from Omaha in the States. Now, instead of a UK shipping company getting in contact with you and saying, right, here are the fees, this is how much it's going to cost you to have them on your doorstep, what they do is they wait until they're inside the country. So, you know, your bars are inside the UK, and any fees that are outstanding on them, the delivery company pays, and then they send you a letter saying, right, you now owe us, I can't remember how much it is off the top of my head, I think it was around 40 quid. And so they sent me a letter through the post saying, right, your bars are in the UK, the import fees and stuff were 40 quid, you now owe us 40 quid, you have so many days to pay it. If you don't pay it by then, we send it back to the States. So just be wary of that, that there might be more costs in delivery and shipping than just emailing them saying, how much is it going to cost to get to the UK, and them saying 35 quid. Yeah, so just be cautious of that one. So the pros of these bars. Now, when I got them on, I thought, oh no, they're going to be full-on super sports bike, and I'm going to have mass pain in my wrist. What have I done? However, pleasantly surprised, these are an absolute perfect compromise between the standard bolt upright bars that you get and, you know, bars that you might expect to find on, you know, a proper big 600 Super Sports, etc. Now, because they're lower, you also feel a lot more part of the bike rather than sitting on top of it, much like you would in a sports bike. And I love that, absolutely love that. So it's easier to manoeuvre around and steer, just purely because you can feel more, you know, it's easier to hug the tank with your legs, and it's easier to, you feel more, it's a difficult one to explain, guys, I'm sorry, but all I can say is that you just feel more part of the bike rather than just sitting on top of it. Now there are some cons here to these bars. Now the only ones I can really think of at the moment are doing slow speed manoeuvres on this bike with these bars over the standard bars. It's not quite as easy. If I had to do a module 1 test again, which is doing all your car park slow speed manoeuvres around cones, etc., I would much rather take this bike with the standard bars over the ones I've got on now. But having said that, doing it with this bike isn't really any more harder. Well, that just sounds contradictory, doesn't it? It's not. You wouldn't get on this bike with these bars and think, oh man, doing a U-turn is so difficult now. You know, it's just a noticeable difference that, you know, with the standard bars, it was a little bit easier. Now another thing is the majority of your body weight is on your wrists, and although I don't feel it a lot, and this is just personal opinion and preference, you know, I would rather have the weight of the bike on my wrists rather than across the top of my back. But it's not noticeable. I mean, it really isn't that bad. Not compared to other sports bikes, it just really isn't that big of a problem. And they are the only cons I can think of these bars. Now, as I say, they were an absolute doddle to install. Really, really simple. So, and I will put a link in of the video I watched to help me install it. And even if you didn't have that video, you could read the instructions and it would just make absolute perfect sense to even the non-DIY minded person going. So, +1 to the Ninja 650 shop on this one. This is the first thing I've ever bought from them, and I'd recommend them. And they'd probably be a hell of a lot cheaper if you were inside the States, because you could get free delivery with the discount code, which I will also put in the description. So I hope this has been thorough enough for you guys, and if you've got any questions, feel free to leave me a comment and I will try and answer as best I can. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you around. Peace.